imagine this. You sit down at a restaurant in New York. The meal costs $50. You leave exactly $50 on the table and walk out. You think you've paid, but the waiter is upset. Why? Because in America, you just broke an unwritten rule. A rule with roots stretching back more than a century. This is America. A country full of customs that millions of people follow without ever asking why. Why do people tip 20%? Why can crossing the street at the wrong place earn you a ticket? Why do strangers ask, "How are you?" when they aren't expecting a real answer? These aren't random habits. They're pieces of history, shaped by wars, business, technology, and changing ideas about society. Today, we're uncovering 10 American do's and don'ts. Do number 1, tip 20%. Let's begin with the rule that confuses almost every visitor: tipping. The story begins after the American Civil War. As formerly enslaved people entered the workforce, many found jobs as railroad porters, hotel staff, and restaurant servers. In many places, employers expected customers, not businesses, to provide much of their income through tips. By the late 1800s, tipping had become part of American service culture. You've probably heard that TIP stands for to ensure promptness. It's a popular story, although historians generally consider it a myth. The real origin of the word is older. Fast forward to 1991. Federal law kept the minimum cash wage for many tipped workers at just $2.13 per hour, assuming tips would make up the difference. That's why leaving little or no tip isn't simply seen as being stingy. For many servers, those tips are a major part of their paycheck. In 2014, a waitress received a $100 bill with a note that read, "Get a real job." The story spread across the country. Because in America, tipping isn't just generosity. For many workers, it's part of how they earn a living. Do number 2, respect personal space. Now watch what happens when an American talks with someone from another culture. The visitor steps closer. The American quietly steps back. The visitor steps forward again. Suddenly, they're doing an awkward little dance. This idea was popularized in 1966 when anthropologist Edward T. Hall published The Hidden Dimension. He argued that every culture has invisible zones of personal space. In the United States, casual conversations usually happen about 2 to 4 feet apart. Stand much closer than that without permission, and many Americans instinctively become uncomfortable. People from Southern Europe, Latin America, and parts of the Middle East often prefer standing much closer during conversations. Americans, shaped by suburban living, larger homes, and a culture that values individual privacy, often expect more distance. So if an American takes a small step backward, don't take it personally. They're probably just protecting their invisible bubble. Do number 3, be on time. In America, time isn't just important. It's expected, but it wasn't always that way. Before 1883, towns across America kept their own local time. Traveling from one city to another could mean resetting your watch every few miles. Then came the railroads. Train schedules became chaotic, and standardized time became essential. On November 18, 1883, American and Canadian railroads adopted 4 standard time zones. Many people called it the Day of Two Noons. It changed the country forever. Today, showing up 5 minutes late to a job interview can leave a bad impression. Arriving 15 minutes late to a party? That might be perfectly acceptable. Same country, different expectations. Do number 4, how are you? Walk into almost any American store. The cashier smiles. Hi, how are you today? If you answer, actually, I've had a terrible week, you may notice an awkward silence. Because this isn't really a request for your life story. It's a greeting. Linguists call expressions like this phatic communication, words whose main purpose is building social connection rather than exchanging information. Businesses, especially during the growth of chain stores and fast food restaurants in the 1950s, helped make friendly greetings part of everyday American customer service. The expected answer? Good, thanks. How are you? And then everyone moves on. It's less about information and more about politeness. Do number 5. Ask before taking photos. Imagine taking a picture of someone else's child at a park. In many parts of America, parents would become very uncomfortable. Privacy has become deeply valued in American culture. Events like the Watergate scandal during the 1970s increased public concern about surveillance and personal privacy. During the 1980s, stranger danger campaigns also taught children to be cautious around unfamiliar adults. Today, many Americans expect permission before being photographed in personal settings, especially when children are involved. Even if the law allows certain public photography, asking first is usually seen as the respectful thing to do. Now let's look at 5 things you should avoid. Don't number 1. Talk politics. There are 2 subjects many Americans avoid at dinner: money and politics. One reason dates back to the Vietnam War. The conflict deeply divided American families, friendships, and communities. Political disagreements became intensely personal. More recently, surveys have shown that many Americans have ended friendships over political differences. So when meeting someone for the first time, skip the politics. Talk about sports, the weather, their dog, almost anything else. Don't number 2. Assume healthcare is free. If you're visiting America, never assume medical care will be inexpensive. During World War II, wage controls prevented companies from raising salaries. Instead, many employers began offering health insurance as a workplace benefit. That system grew into the employer-based healthcare model that still exists today. As a result, many medical services in the United States can be extremely expensive without insurance. An ambulance ride may cost over $1,000. A hospital stay can cost several thousand more. For travelers, medical insurance isn't optional. It's essential. Don't number 3. Jaywalk. In many countries, pedestrians cross wherever it's safe. In much of America, that's called jaywalking. The word jay once meant an inexperienced or foolish person. During the 1920s, automobile clubs, safety organizations, newspapers, and car manufacturers all promoted campaigns encouraging pedestrians to stay out of traffic. Gradually, streets became places designed primarily for cars rather than people. One technological revolution changed how an entire nation used its roads. Don't number 4. Don't burp at the table. In some cultures, burping after a meal compliments the cook. In America, it's usually considered rude. Many modern American table manners trace their roots to Victorian-era ideas about etiquette and polite society. Good manners became a sign of education and social status. Those expectations still influence American dining today. Don't number 5. Don't touch people, especially children. Americans generally value personal boundaries. Touching someone's hair, hugging without permission, or patting a stranger's child on the head may make people uncomfortable. Part of this comes from growing respect for personal autonomy. Part comes from decades of child safety campaigns. The message is simple: ask first. Respect personal space. So what have we learned? Tipping grew from labor practices after the Civil War. Personal space became a subject of scientific study in 1966. Standardized time transformed America in 1883. Healthcare became tied to employment during World War II. Even jaywalking has a surprising history. American manners aren't random. They're history, hidden inside everyday habits. So the next time you visit the United States, remember, behind every rule, there's a story. And behind every custom, there's history. Because culture is simply memory, wearing a smile. If you enjoyed this documentary, subscribe for more fascinating stories from around the world. And tell us in the comments, which American rule surprised you the most? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next documentary.